I don't have the counter space. And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. The almost Emmy-nominated Midday Show. Apparently, one of our clips did go prime time. I don't know if I can call it our clips, but we did go prime time last night with the video we had of the pileup. We also have Oscar fallout. You have dug up. You have in-depthly found out things about the triumvirate of Chris Rock, Will Smith, and Jada Pinkett. So we have some
the
Oscar
Holy Trinity, if you will.
Yes. And then we're going to talk. I just stumbled across this, the consumer spending drops. We're going to mention that at the end of the show if we have time. Before we get going today, like every day, the most important question, Mark, how are you feeling today? I'm
feeling warmer than yesterday. We'll start with that.
Okay.
We had pizza here for lunch, which you missed.
That's the sacrifices I have to make as home ownership.
Tough break for you. But, I'm good. And I also I watched King Richard last night.
Oh, okay. How did that go?
So we can talk about that as I know you've seen it, correct? You saw it a while ago.
I saw it, yes.
I don't want to overblow it because I hate when people do that. And then it's happened to me with a couple comedies like, oh, it's the funniest movie you ever saw. And then you go see it and you're kind of expecting it. And you just end up, the bar gets set too high and it's let down. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say, I find it very, very hard to believe that anyone won't like this movie, even if you don't really like sports. I think you'll either love it or you'll like it. I can't believe that people walk out of it and are like, eh. And Will Smith's performance is unbelievable.
I really, really enjoyed it. I don't love the last 30 minutes. The last 30 minutes feels dragged on. It misses the point of the first 2 hours.
Yes, you need a climax somewhere. And
this wasn't it. This wasn't the climax.
It's an interesting point, and I know you'd mentioned it before, and I didn't really know what you were talking about when you said it before because I hadn't seen it. It would be, I would love to get other people's opinions who have seen it, that It didn't fail for me. Okay. And again, because when you see lots of historical retellings, like the Titanic, you knew it was going down.
Sure.
A lot of these, if it's a true sports, it's one of the reasons I love Cinderella Man so much, because it was a true story, but I had no idea about, James J. Braddock and what he did. So where they picked to climax it, I didn't know how that match or that tournament was going to turn out. So, but I do get your point. It's not, but it's still, I found it really enjoyable. And even if right now you think Will Smith is the most awful person on earth, which is probably a little bit of an overreaction, I think you'll love the movie. I think you'll love his performance.
Some nitpicky things, because we really didn't get to talk about the movie or the performances from it. There is, I think one of my favorite parts of it is it shows, yes, there are incredibly gifted people. There's incredibly talented people all across this country and around the world. I think what it does a really good job showing is, even if you are extremely gifted and extremely talented, the amount of work ethic you still need to have to be successful. Because it's very clear, like from the Venus and Serena story, they were gifted and talented, but they still had to work every single day relentlessly to become as good as they were. And B, you still need the cards to fall correctly, whether it's a father trying to put you in the right spots, a trainer who understands who you are as a person, the opportunities to be successful, to want to keep going, all the cards that have to fall for you. It's not just about being the most gifted or the most talented. And that's what I like most about the movie. It just shows you how in-depth success is for some of these people, regardless of the gifts that they are given.
Yes, I agree with that. Because one of the things, depending on what side of the coin you want to look at, obviously Venus and Serena are incredibly athletic.
Sure.
And so it's easy for people to say, yes, Richard Williams got lucky, that how many Richard Williamses are out there who are trying this with their kids and their kids just aren't that good.
Correct.
And that's a fair point. On the flip side of it, how many people have kids that are this good, but nobody puts in the work? And, it is, I think you see it a lot of times where people look at successful people and they say, well, I would work as hard as they do to be that successful. But the point you're making is these people have to work their asses off when they have nothing.
Every day.
Hoping that they get to be successful.
Yes.
And then yes.
There's this idea that you're born athletic, and if you're the most athletic, you will make it. And it's so far from true. It's just nothing could be further from the truth. And this movie does a very good job of demonstrating that.
Well, and everything else. If you ever saw the Bruce Springsteen on Broadway thing that I saw it on Netflix, and I think that's where I talked. He says one of the neat things, and you're not a Springsteen guy, but he's kind of the blue collar rock and roll, and he's like, I never worked in a factory, I never laid bricks, I never had a real job. He said all I did was we played every birthday party, bar mitzvah, backyard, until we got up to play bars and do this and do that, and this is all I ever did, but we played every show that would take us. And so there's that aspect too, that how many people just did it and did it and did it and did it and did it. And then they ended up, obviously he's talented and he's good and he had a following, whatever. But I heard a great line somewhere from someone, and I can't remember who it was. And they call this person an overnight success. And he's like, yeah, I'm the first person that took 10 years to become an overnight success. And that's a very valid point.
The other last thing that I'll say about the movie is there's a lot of times where if you were going to make the Venus and Serena Williams movie, you would have fallen into two traps. You would have fallen into the trap to making the movie about them, or you would have fallen into the trap of starting the movie where the movie ended. And you would have done their career, because that's where the wins and the tournaments and the drama of all of that and them playing against each other. In this movie, I don't know how they avoided it. I don't know who was the smartest person in the room to go. The real story here is the origin story, and the real story is from a different perspective or a different point of view, because that's where the drive and the push and the real execution behind everything. Don't get me wrong. The girls had to play tennis and they had to go and practice every single day. And it is incredible what they have achieved. But like the driving factor behind that, whoever said the real origin story and the driving factor behind that is what needs to be the movie, and that is actually Richard Williams, I give them a ton of credit for that, because most people would have messed up this movie.
And I think too, the aspect of how smart the kids were, how academic the kids were, and how that was and it wasn't an accident. And, there's a point in it, which, without giving anything away from it, where Richard Williams is arguing with one of the coaches. And he's like, no, they have to keep straight A's to play tennis. That's part of the deal.
Right.
And so of this aspect, like there was, it was neat. It was really, I don't know. I can't imagine anyone not liking it. I would like to find the person who doesn't like it. And
no, I'm with you. You had more of the Oscar fallout from the other day. What else did you dig up? What else did you find?
I mean, as the saga continues, and this will probably be like the last day of it until someone speaks. Will Smith apologized. Chris Rock apologized. So there we go. But
everything's solved.
There needs to be there's lots of angles that comes up from this. So one of the first ones is there was a group of people, and I think they were in the minority, but there were a group of people who were like, good for Chris Rock. The guy told a bad joke about his wife and he smacked him across the face. And that's how you react. Like, what are we, in the Old West? Like, there are factions of society where that's how you react. In adult, sophisticated, educated society, when someone tells a joke that doesn't really land, how do you like that pun? You don't go up and punch them. And most of the people have come out and said violence is never unacceptable unless in self-defense, I would say. But So for all these people that yesterday stood up and said, good for Will Smith, good for Will Smith, I support. Now that Will has come out and said, you know what, I probably shouldn't have done it. Now what do these people say? Do these people come off and say, well, Will thought it was a good idea and I defended it. Now Will thinks it was a stupid idea. And now do I still defend it? Because those are the people who end up sounding like the people who still defended Paterno at the end. There are still all those people who Paterno did nothing wrong. And
I said to you before the show, I just think those people have a different agenda. And in this case, their being right just isn't going to be in their agenda. Whether it's a strong pull for feminism, if it's a strong pull for supporting your spouse, whatever cause they were kind of trying to support there, that's fine. But that they're going to end up being wrong on the long term of this, because like you said, Will Smith has already come out and said he shouldn't have done it.
I think it's like the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, that there's like this bravado. I'm a man and I screw the law. I get to do what I want to do because I know I'm right. And then after a while, you're like, well, it was a crime and I could be persecuted or prosecuted. Persecuted? You could be both, maybe. And so, yeah, I think that is I think the fascinating question, and this is one I will continue to ask women as time goes on. If you're Jada, are you proud of your husband or are you pissed at your husband? And it is there's no right and wrong answer, because there are some people who have said like, well, yeah, we all, as a woman, we all love to be defended. We all like to have our man stick up for us. But at the same point, I don't want to act like a fool. So, and the other thing that cracks me up about this is for all these people that, and I get it, like defending and you need to stick up for your, like, that's the only way you could do it. Like, he couldn't have said something, like he couldn't have made a comment, like he could have put his arm around her and reached over and give her a big kiss. Like there are so many other ways that he could have shown her support without walking up on the stage and hitting the guy in the face.
Okay, so stay with me here on this one, because the more I thought about this last night, is there a world, like, to us, to the normal person, to 99% of society, getting up and punching somebody at the Oscars is just outrageous. Like, it's this special night and it's special people and it's just all the way up on this like crystal mountain that just like we just can't even begin to imagine, like showing up and sitting front row at the Oscars and having Chris Rock make a joke about us, right? Is there an aspect to this where if you are Will Smith or even Chris Rock or Jada Pinkett or Denzel Washington, anybody who was kind of like in that scenario the other night, is there a world where like there's no difference between Will Smith doing this to Chris Rock at the Oscars versus like my uncle doing it to somebody at my barbecue? Because that's the world. Just stay with me, because that's the
their world.
That's their world. Like, they live in that. Like, when else was he supposed to go up and like show his manliness to Chris Rock? Now,
obviously, can I just jump in? The obvious answer is at your barbecue. That's where he was supposed to do it.
Yes. So I'm still against Will Smith punching Chris Rock. He should not have done it. But the more I started to think about it, when you live in this TV, movie, reality series world, every moment, like the Oscars or being on TV or whenever it is, that's your life. Like, those are the moments of your life where like you maybe say the things you wouldn't want to say or you do the things you want to do. And so the more I've thought about this, I'm not surprised that like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett I'm not surprised Will Smith just went up and gave a speech as if almost nothing had happened. I'm not surprised that afterwards, like, they went out and partied and were holding hands and like doing whatever as if nothing had happened. Because I think for most normal people, that's what you would do if that happened at a barbecue or if that happened at a McDonald's or if it happened at... So I don't know. Like, I've kind of normalized it in my brain what kind of happened the other night.
Yeah, I get that. But I would take it to a different level where you said like 99% of us couldn't imagine getting up at the Oscars and walking up on stage and hitting someone. But don't you think I would think 99% of us can't imagine being anywhere. Someone tells a bad joke and you walk up and hit them. I think for most of us, that doesn't cross our minds.
I think at a performance, you're exactly right. Like, I think the average person, when they are sitting anywhere. In a, I don't know.
I think in your barbecue.
I think there's a section of, go ahead.
I was just going to say, depending on alcohol level, but I'm guessing that I don't know. They don't have drunk people at the Academy Awards, do they? I don't think Will Smith was drinking. I don't think they want people drunk on stage giving speeches. So
I don't think they have as much control over that.
In a room of 100 sober people, I think 99 of them, when there's a bad joke, they're not like, my first reaction is to go hit you, because there are so many other more intelligent ways and better ways to react.
Have you ever hit somebody?
I was 12.
Okay, so I've hit one person in my like teenage to adult life. One person, one time. And this is, I guess, the point I'm making. In my world, it happened at a moment that made sense in my world. I'm not Will Smith. So all I'm saying is, like, I had a moment where, like, something happened. I reacted. I wasn't proud of it. I still don't really know if I did the wrong or right thing. Like, I think about it sometimes and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have. And then there's days where I'm like, no, like I stood up for myself. Like, I did the right thing. So the point I'm making is, like, in my world, I did it during a time that made sense. In Will Smith's world, like, if you're going, everything's filmed, everything's on TV, everything, like, I'm just saying it might be different for Will Smith. That's all.
You were a teenager. Like, you just don't. So here, if I said something disparaging about your girlfriend,
okay,
the thought of I'm going to hit him, I'm going to hit him is not crossing your mind, because now you're 30-some years old and you're an adult.
Correct, but this is where the whole Will Smith. There's this aspect of Will Smith that, like, the more you dive into it, it is. Will Smith, I know, like, he struggled standing up for himself as a teenager. He watched his mom get abused. Like, there's some stuff within the Will Smith story. My awareness or my bringing up is very different than Will Smith's. Whereas at my age now, I might be able to be like, well, that's stupid. I should never do that. Whereas Will Smith's story, he's kind of been battling this whole idea of, like, standing up for himself. Like, I was 16, 17, and I was already figuring out, like, how to stand up for myself and what should I do and all this stuff. Will Smith might be 50 and still figuring it out. Like, you don't know the difference.
And he's older than 50. He's 53, but that's not an excuse.
All right.
I think, one of and where this goes from here, sooner he's given the apology. Great. Chris Rock gave an apology that was easy, and I think Chris Rock is kind of going to skate out of this, as he probably mostly should. It wasn't a good joke. It wasn't done in good taste, and now I'm reading that it wasn't rehearsed. But anyway, be that as it may, sooner or later, Will Smith's going to have to give an interview, and the first question that he's going to have to answer, which he won't. This is what he won't answer it, but this is the $64,000 question that needs answered. Why did you laugh first and then get mad?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a clear one. The other aspect, to go further along, there's going to have to become, sooner or later, Jada's going to talk about it, probably on her own show, to make the ratings will be good, and I don't blame her for that. But were you happy with the way Will reacted, or were you not happy with the way Will reacted? But when you go to spin it back the other way, when you're talking about, like, defending your wife or defending your family, like, I have sat in the bleachers at Major League Baseball games and listened to people around me criticize my brother because they didn't know who I was. And I can remember being maybe 20. And Mike Gallego was hitting ninth. I probably told the story before. Mike Gallego was hitting ninth for the Yankees. He ripped one to the gap in left center. Mike had nothing this day. He had nothing, and he was just trying to survive, and he didn't. And Mike Gallego hit a ground rule double in the left field, and these two old guys who had to be 75 plus were sitting in front of me, and the one looked at the other, and he said, I agree with Earl Weaver. All pitchers are dumb. And I almost punched the guy in the back of his head, but I didn't. because if I would have
thought about it,
I thought about it. But at
Correct.
20 or 21 years old, I knew that like this is Mike's world and I'm not here to embarrass him. I'm here to support him and I'm not here to embarrass him. And he is never going to go into the locker room and have a reporter stick a microphone in his mouth and ask him about his brother getting arrested for doing something stupid. And I don't remember if it was the same day, but it was another day. And I very rarely took dates to the ballpark when Mike was pitching. Go ahead.
So, but think about, okay, the example you just gave, all the things that stopped you from doing it were deterrents that do not exist in Will Smith's life.
Why?
Like, there's no way Will Smith thought he was going to be arrested at the Oscars. There's no way Will Smith thought that anyone would stop him from doing it. And I'm sure in Will Smith's world,
no one was going to stop me. They were sitting right in front of me. They weren't looking at me.
Yeah, but you could get arrested and escorted out. There's no way Will Smith thought he was being escorted out of the Oscars. Zero.
But what about the part of just embarrassing yourself publicly? Isn't there
but you weren't worried about
like,
you weren't worried about that. You were worried about embarrassing your brother. You weren't worried about embarrassing yourself.
Correct.
Okay, so the point I'm making is those deterrents do not exist for Will Smith. They don't.
I mean, I hadn't thought of it that way, I guess. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass my brother. Will apparently didn't care that he embarrassed himself. But
no, and to your point, I think Will Smith understood. I think in Will Smith's mind, he was doing the right thing because there just weren't the deterrents to make him think he wasn't. And in your world, there were these little deterrents that like, oh, I don't want to embarrass Mike, or this would be a bad look, and I don't want to have him deal with the fallout afterwards and bailing me out or whatever it is. And those things, when you're Will Smith and you're that famous and that rich and you're that well-liked, none of those deterrents are there to stop you from going up on stage to slap Chris Rock.
How about the fact, I mean, isn't somewhere, because I'm sure when I've had these discussions with people and people like, I would have punched the guy and I would have done this and I was like, no, you wouldn't have. And they're like, oh, I don't know how you hold back. And I was like, how many times have you read an article about some so-and-so's brother got in a fight in the bleachers of any sport, we hear about, there's sometimes I know Tom Brady's his wife took to Twitter. Kurt Warner's wife used to say things. But, like, nobody's punching people in the crowd, except at Loyal Sock basketball games. That happens sometimes. But it just doesn't happen. So, like, isn't there any moment in Will Smith's life where he's like, nobody does this? Like, Kanye didn't even do this. Kanye just took the mic and gave a WWE speech. Like, isn't that, like, if nobody else has ever done this, this is probably a bad idea?
But he's a vessel. You can't you can't it's Will Smith. Like he's gonna. I don't want you to think I don't agree with your point. Like
I know what you're saying.
I think I do agree with the most of your points. I just don't think Will Smith categorizes himself that way. Like I think the questions you asked yourself at that baseball stadium are questions that Will Smith didn't even ask himself.
I had one time, I don't remember if it was the same time, but like I said, I rarely took dates to the game. But there was a time that I was sitting there with a clenched fist, and the girl with me was trying to like wiggle my hand open so it wasn't. So yeah, like listen, I get it. It's not my wife, it's my brother. But I have sat there with public criticism, and it is like part of the world is you just have to take it.
I get it. Heather says, do you think he could have embarrassed Jada or even the kids? His personal status does not mean he wouldn't embarrass someone else in his life. I think you're kind of hinting at that. It would be interesting to see what Jada thought.
His son, or wait, one of the kids. Which one? One of the kids tweeted, "That's how we do it," and now it's since taken it down.
Okay.
That's the other aspect too. If you throw up a Twitter post that you need to take down.
Yeah. William Cooper, Mike Gallagher.
I know, he's hit 9. I'll never forget it.
Just a side note.
It was bad. It was bad.
John Smith, someone said, do you think the whole thing was to bring awareness for alopecia? So it would be okay to make fun of someone with Down syndrome to increase awareness, really? I don't think it was done to bring awareness for alopecia. Personally, I don't think that was the case. This is the other thing we need to talk about too. I feel bad for people with alopecia. I do. Like I am not saying that it's not something they don't have to deal with. Some people are treating alopecia as if this is a terminal illness. Like some people are acting as if alopecia, like millions of people are dying every year from alopecia. I sympathize with people who have it. I understand that emotionally it is something that they have to deal with and handle. I get all of that. But some of this stuff, I don't understand the people that are coming out and acting as if this is like this severe illness that she has to deal. It's something personal that she's dealing with, but like she's not, like Jada Pinkett is not dying either. There are people on Twitter that are acting as if like Jada Pinkett's life is falling apart because she has alopecia.
Well, one of the other things too is, and again, she hasn't spoken. Just because she didn't laugh at the joke doesn't mean she was offended by the joke. I mean, there's a difference between being not funny and being bothered. And so, because I saw someone on Facebook who tweeted that she has, there's one of her with her head totally shaved, like glistening shaved, and talking about how she's embracing it and she loves it, and it's so it's, again, she hasn't done the whole, she's like taken it on and with a brave face and said, I'm going to embrace it, I'm going to love it, and this is my life and I'm going to live it. And then for someone else to make a joke about it, to pretend that she has never given the impression, or I shouldn't say never, let me rephrase that. She has certainly at times given the public impression that she is embracing it. So for anyone to then think that it's a very sensitive topic, I can understand why they misinterpreted that.
Someday, not today, we are going to talk about Jada Pinkett in this whole scenario. And I need to be further removed from the city. I can't do it right now, but we are going to talk about Jada Pinkett in this scenario and the role in which she plays and does not play. Because this is the thing, like yesterday we talked about Chris Rock should say this and Will Smith should say that, or Chris Rock should go on this show, or Will Smith should lay low, like all these things. Like Jada Pinkett in one statement could solve a lot of this.
See, I think that where you're going with this and where some of society is going with it, because I've seen the tweets that said this is the reaction of a broken husband, and that there is this this connection now made between this action and their unconventional marriage. And the question is, does that connection even exist? Are these isolated incidents? Does the fact that she is essentially admitted having an affair with that singer, Will Smith has basically admitted having an affair with someone. As I was Googling this, because I'm fascinated about where this is going to go from here. I didn't realize that Chris Rock and Jada worked on the Madagascar movies together. They were voice actors on the Madagascar movie. And there's a quote that they developed a friendship and they were very close. So where does this come from? And in the history of their marriage, they'll say that Jada grew up and had relatives that had very unconventional marriages, that she grew up in a world where monogamous marriages apparently weren't everywhere, and that they tried conventional marriage for a while. And Will uses the word, it felt like a prison. They weren't going to make it. They've gone this different path. And apparently with bumps in the road, it has worked for them. And at least it has worked better than the other way has. Does any of that have to do with what happened Sunday night at the Oscars? I don't know. And nobody knows, and people are drawing that conclusion. I'm not sure that's fair.
We'll have the Jada Pinkett conversation some other time.
Jeff needs to talk to his PR people before he
before I talk about Jada Pinkett. I need to know am I going to ruin our almost Emmy nominated Midday Show if I talk about Jada Pinkett too soon or too late?
You might just sound bad, but whatever. we talked about a little bit yesterday. Their relationship is unconventional. It is, well, not only is their relationship unconventional, their willingness to go public with it is extremely unconventional. But does it? I mean, it shows courage. It doesn't necessarily make it wrong. Different is not always wrong. And is it empowering to other people who are like, to make this a bad compare? Go ahead.
You use the word empower. I think their relationship, there's only one person who is truly empowered by it. There is one empowered person in their relationship, and there is another person that some people are saying he's broken. Some people, like, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's broken, but to me, it's very clear that this relationship works very well for one person and not very well for the other.
But that is speculation from afar.
100%. 100% speculation.
Let's tie this into a real world problem. When people are talking about the LGBTQ community, with children's books and with all this stuff, the goal is, because of suicide rate, the goal is to let these kids know that they are not alone, that there are other kids out there like them, because they're in a society where they're taught that they're a freak and if you feel this way, you are so bizarre. And that's what the movement is trying to do, to literally tell them there's other people like you. You're not as different as you think, and it's okay. And to try to literally save lives. Is there a way in all this, with the divorce rate of what it is, and with marriages failing the way it is, don't you think that somewhere behind Jada's publicity of this, and I realize that Jada is the one driving the sharing the story way more than Will is. I get that. Do you think there's any part of her that's like, you don't have to live in if a normal, white picket fence, 2 kids, come home from work at 5:00 every night. If that doesn't work for you, it's okay, because it doesn't work for everyone. Don't you think there's any of that behind her at all?
I think that's very easy to do when it's convenient for you. When it works for your side and you are the one making the choice and you are empowered by it and you're making the calls on it, I think it's great. If you're the other person in the relationship and it's maybe not your idea originally, and maybe it's not like what you truly want, then I'm not here to say Will Smith is being taken advantage of. I'm just here to say that there's one person in the driver's seat and there's one person in the passenger. And I personally believe Jada Pinkett is in the driver's seat and Will Smith is in the passenger. And Will Smith can say he wants to be in the passenger seat. That's his choice. That's fine. But anybody who looks at that relationship, if you watch enough of the shows and enough of their social media and everything else, there is no doubt that Jada Pinkett is the driver in that relationship, and that Will Smith, for a lack of better way of putting it, there are things that Will Smith is suffering from because of it.
In your opinion,
in my opinion.
I would also say this: isn't this fair to say that in every relationship, someone's in the driver's seat, and in certain roles it changes? Maybe one person doesn't drive the entire relationship, but
totally. But so this is part of this is where you get into conversations about relationships and morals and all these things. Part of being the driver is making sure that the passenger knows their value, knows that they could be the driver, knows that you'd be willing to be the passenger. There is a respect that comes with being the driver in the relationship that the passenger needs to know. And I don't I don't love Jada Pinkett. Like I said yesterday, I'll keep it as simple as that. I don't think Jada Pinkett is not somebody that I would want to be in a relationship with.
Well, I have good news for you.
She doesn't want to be in a relationship with me.
She's not calling you anytime soon. But
that's right.
But I also I get what you're saying. I can understand why it would be challenging. But I would also go to the aspect of all relationships are challenging. But if this is what's true to her core, then doesn't she, like, if this, again, I'll repeat it, if this is true to her core, shouldn't she not be willing to give it up?
She should let him loose. Cut bait. Let him loose.
Who?
Will Smith.
She should let him loose?
Yes. Cut bait. Let him
go. It's his choice. No. It's his choice.
Yes, but time out. I think most people have either been in the relationship or have seen their friends or family in the relationship where one person very clearly will not cut bait because there's an aspect of the relationship that they like, but they don't love the person or the totality of the relationship.
But
and
that's
all I'm saying is, so this is what I'm saying. My opinion, Jada Pinkett, it sounds great. You don't have to have a monogamous relationship. You can have an unconventional marriage, and I'll be the flagship for that, and I'll talk about it and all these things. There's a flip side to this, where very clearly she doesn't want to be in a marriage with Will Smith. She doesn't want to do it.
Whoa, that's a reach.
She doesn't.
That's a big reach.
It's not.
Why? Why did she divorce him?
Because she wants her cake and eat it too. We've been through this. Hold
on. You just said she doesn't want to be in a marriage with Will Smith. Then she would divorce him.
No, because there's
want to be in a marriage with Will Smith.
Yes, because there's aspects of the marriage that I'm sure, like, they have kids together. I'm sure they have good moments. Like, I'm sure there's things about the relationship that are good for her. There's also things about the relationship that are very clearly not what she wants. And so all I'm saying is
that every relationship?
Okay, but sometimes people fight through it. Like, this is different. She's getting everything. She's getting everything she wants, plus she gets to have the marriage that Will Smith doesn't necessarily. This was not Will Smith's idea. There are some things I'm unsure of, and these are opinions. The one thing that I am sure of, I am sure that this was Jada Pinkett's main idea. This was not Will Smith's idea.
Well,
I'm like 99% sure of that.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but we don't have any evidence to it. But Will Smith has said he had affairs, or I'll say singular. I don't know if there's more than one.
Do you know real quick? Do you know when Will Smith said he? Do you know when Will Smith said he had affairs?
After she did.
Well, it's like the kid being like, it's like the girl going like, oh, I kissed so-and-so at sleepover. And then the kid that's jealous is like, yeah, I kissed Ashley under the slide. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Like, what?
But do you think he's lying? Or do you think he's...
I think he's either lying or compensating. I do. I think it's a way to make himself feel as if... Now, listen, I'm not saying Will Smith can't sleep with other people. He's Will Smith. Like, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying in the early days he didn't. I'm just saying, though, like, Will Smith never has had relationships the way Jada Pinkett has had relationships during their marriage, and they'll try to say like, well, we were separated. Nah, like you were married, like you were trying to figure out how this non-monogamous thing works. And listen, I'm not even like against non-monogamous. I'm just kind of against Jada Pinkett. Like, I just think she just has this whole thing weaved around her finger where everything seems to go the way she wants it to go, but she gets none of the fallout ever for any of it. Well, it's a very unique situation.
First of all, you made the comment that he doesn't like the totality of the relationship or something. I'd have to rewind. You used the word totality and relationship. And my first response is no one likes the totality of any relationship. All relationships have their downside.
I love the totality of my relationship.
I think you're making this sound like, because let's be honest, Will Smith is the breadwinner here. They can split and Will Smith is fine. So you're making it sound like Will is stuck in a marriage that he has no options. And whatever Jada says, that he has to say, okay. And that's not true.
No, I'm making it sound like if Will Smith wants Jada Pinkett, these are the hoops he has to jump through. Correct. And that's all I mean by it. Okay.
But isn't that every relationship?
Not like this though.
If your
and you know
girlfriend
that.
came to you, if your girlfriend came to you tomorrow and said, Jeff, I'm sick of you coaching basketball, does the relationship end or does your basketball coaching career end?
I think there's a conversation, but I think that there's a big difference between that. I think there's a big difference between that and her coming up and like talking about like the style of our relationship versus coaching basketball. Those are two completely different.
But there's not a difference.
Jada Pinkett, hold on. Jada Pinkett,
you're a basketball coach.
Jada Pinkett is not asking Will Smith to stop acting. Jada Pinkett is asked. Okay, so it's not a fair comparison. Like the conversations they're having, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying like there's a different weight of what's being put on Will Smith versus the weight that would be putting on me if she came in and said like, I don't want you to coach basketball anymore. Those are two very different weights.
There would be no weight because you would say that's nice. Then you should find somewhere else and find someone else to date because I'm going to keep coaching basketball. I would say, how do we figure? Because again, maybe I'm the driver in the relationship. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, you would be.
Okay, so in this aspect, I would be doing whatever I needed to do to like try to make sure I got to do the thing I loved. But I don't think she's like, there's a difference between the things you love to do and the person you love. It's very clear that Will Smith loves Jada Pinkett, literally to the point he will do almost anything to try to save their marriage, even things that he technically aren't his idea or things that very clearly he's still trying to figure out how to handle them.
Well, I think part of the aspect in a clip of a video of an interview that I saw, I think they're always trying to figure it out, and I think every relationship is trying to figure it out. There's something to be said for the fact that they have survived through this for 20 some years.
I don't know. Will Smith just slapped the guy on the stage at the Oscars, so maybe we have different ideas of survival. I don't know. Like that's just me.
So you are in the school of thought of the tension or the anxiety created by the tumultuous relationship, which is the word I keep seeing. The tumultuousness of the relationship drove Will Smith to do this. I think, like I said to you the other day, first of all, I didn't want to talk about Jada Pinkett today. Second of all, I'm sorry. We'll edit all this out. I think what happened is very clearly, like, I don't think that was Will Smith. I said yesterday it was so out of character of Will Smith. If Chris Rock would have made a joke about anything else, I don't think it happens. I think Will Smith could have made I think Chris Rock could have made any joke he wanted to about Will Smith, about their non-monogamous relationship. Like, there were so many jokes he could have made about. And the way it triggered something within Will to go up and do that, like, very clearly, this relationship has Will not really sure how to react, how to handle himself, how to treat, like, how to defend her. Like, there's so many things in this relationship that I think are question marks. I think anybody to think it's not like a tumultuous relationship, I think is just completely ignorant of what happens. Like, I don't know how you could say that the relationship is working after what just happened. Like, I get they salvaged the marriage. Like, I understand there's a legal document that says they're married, and kudos to them. But after what just happened the other night, to act as if everything is like, wow, like round of applause for Jada and Will, they figured it out, is insane. Well, just to clarify, he didn't hit her. He hit Chris Rock. Right. I didn't say he hit her. No, but I'm saying, again, there's not, if they were the happiest couple in the world, and they were, and I can't think of who the happiest couple in the world was. If they're according to you, the Brady bunch. I couldn't think of her name. Mike and what was Mrs. Brady's name? I'm 34. Because it was Marsha, Jan, and Cindy and Mrs. Brady. I can't remember. So if it's Mr. and Mrs. Brady and he walks up and punches, is it different? Like, wait, slow that down. If what? If it's a marriage that is cookie cutter, America loves them, they think they're the perfect couple, whoever that is, and he walks up on stage and then punches Carol, thank you, and he walks up on stage and punches Chris Rock, then what's the cause? Because we've made this cause that he did it because their marriage is so different and rough and tumultuous. That's why he did it. Well, so
you disagree?
I don't think I don't. I think it's speculative. I think it's really.
Do you think their marriage is a good marriage?
That's an interesting question. I'll give
Do
you
you think Will Smith is? Do you think Will Smith is happy?
I'm guessing. Here's my answers. I'm guessing Will Smith is in a marriage.
The fact that you couldn't answer any of those three questions right away tells me everything I need to know.
Because I'm trying to think, because I haven't talked to Will lately, so I'm trying to extrapolate. I would think that at 53 years old, Will Smith is in a marriage that he didn't think he'd be in, but it doesn't mean he doesn't like it. I think the other aspect is when you get to be when I was in my 40s, I had someone say this to me. Someone who I went to high school with, and we were talking about marriage, and we were talking about relationships, and talking about this. And the person said to me, Mark, how many happy marriages do you know? Simple question. And I was like, well, and they're like, no. How many people of your circle, how many couples do you think are really, really happy? How many of them do you think are like, eh? And how many of them do you think should be divorced? But how many do you think are really, really happy? And it is shocking when you sit down and talk and see you're too young. You got to give it another decade. In 10 years, when you sit down and talk about this, you're going to find the number is way lower than you think.
Okay.
So the fact that their relationship is tumultuous, I'm not going to. There are lots of tumultuous relationships.
Yes.
Lots of them.
But to your point,
normal people like us who don't have open marriages.
But to your point, people don't react the way he reacted. There are lots of people in unhappy marriages, but they don't do what Will Smith did.
No, but listen, I'm a realtor, and I would never, ever punch a wall because my first thought is I could hurt myself. You would be shocked at how many houses we show, and there's a fist hole in a door or in a wall. It's all over the place. Do people react like that? Yes, they do. Would you and I ever react like that? I'm guessing you never punched a hole in a door.
Nope.
No, you could because you're super tough. But your thought would be like, if that door is solid, my hand's in a cast. But
I can't get past the fact that the door is hard.
You would be shocked at how many fist holes we see in drywall. And you're like, well, people don't react like this. They certainly do. Now, again, a lot of those, I wonder how much alcohol is involved in the one aspect of what we just saw. I think Will was stone sober, but
it's possible. I get Will Smith's response wasn't a good one, but why is no one questioning why hosts, presenters, other speakers maybe need to change the way they make fun of people? It's the Oscars, not a comedy show and not a roast. I understand Chris Rock is a comedian, but he is also guilty here.
It is a comedy show because the show's boring as can be because there's nothing televised that is more boring than acceptance speeches because these people prove all the time if you don't write them something to be clever, most of them can't do it. The acceptance speeches are painful. So if it wasn't, and they have that's why comedians host. That's why Bob Hope hosted for 100 years and Billy Crystal hosted for 100 years. And Chris Rock has hosted, Jimmy Kimmel's hosted, and Ricky Gervais hosts. That's why they do it, because it's funny. And they make fun of, they made fun of Leonardo DiCaprio. They made fun of their open marriage earlier in the show. It was just the girl that did it. They made fun of Aaron Sorkin. They make fun of everyone. And the fact that, they made fun of Jada before, when you hear the whole, he made fun of Jada before. Yeah, she was on a TV show and she said she was boycotting the Oscars because Will didn't get nominated. Well, if Will didn't get nominated, Will's not invited. And because she's done it, she's not nominated, so they're not invited. So to come up and say, so that's a very walk-intoable joke. And he also said at the time, yes, it's not right that Will didn't get nominated for Concussion because I saw Concussion. I think he's good. But he said it's also not right that Will got paid $20 million to make Wild Wild West, which was apparently a horrible movie. So, this happened. They make fun of these people all the time. And if they didn't, the show would be unwatchable.
I still go back again. I don't think alopecia is something that should be made fun of, but I still go back to the point of it was a G.I. Jane joke. It's not like he pointed at her and said, "You have alopecia, ha ha ha." It was a G.I. Jane joke about having short hair. And I know Jada Pinkett has to deal with it, and it's emotionally, I'm sure it's something you have to come to grips with. And I feel for anybody who's had to go through it, but this was a G.I. Jane joke. I don't know. I can't get past that. Every time it always comes back to that for me, that it was not necessarily an alopecia joke. Like the joke was not based around her being sick. Like the joke was based around like her hair looking like G.I. Jane.
I get
it. And again, I from what I can tell so far, Chris Rock did not know that she had alopecia. Everything that I've read so far, it doesn't say.
Yeah,
that.
He says he did not. And I didn't. But not that. Why would I know? But I didn't. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We'll share because I try to share. Almost Emmy nominated, huh? Looks like the hot take on the Little League Parade strikes again. So the committee must have striked us after that one. We must have we were being shunned for the hot take. That's why we're almost Emmy nominated. We lost our nomination.
But there's always next year.
I
wanted to say this. Did you notice this? Remember when we had Joe Smith on and I was talking about we should do like the best car chase scene of all time and the best this.
Yeah.
They had clips from history. They had the movies from 23 years ago. They had the scene the most. What did it say? Jaw dropping, whatever. They had the one from The Matrix, and then they had a bunch of comic books. Like I thought they picked crappy movies, but they did it. They kind of. I think they're watching our show. They got the idea. They said, boy, that's brilliant. And they kind of worked with it. And they had the people from The Godfather for 50 years ago. Like a lot of that stuff is better than I agree with losing a lot of the boring categories.
Sounds like a lawsuit. Sounds like we could get some money involved is what it sounds like.
I think so. We also made ABC World News Tonight kind of in a roundabout way.
Kind of. It wouldn't be identity theft. It would be what? Creation theft? It would be.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they stole our creative.
Creative theft.
And not. Okay. I mean, I don't want to take all the credit, but it was my idea.
Wait, what? The different categories?
Yeah, to have the historical categories.
The historical categories. Yes. Yeah. I'll give you that one. Okay. I thought you were saying the different categories was your idea. I was like, what?
Back in the day, they had one.
Thank you guys for watching the show today. We'll come back tomorrow. I do want to talk about the consumer spending drops because that one's kind of crazy. And obviously where we're going to be heading into the spring and just gas prices. I saw a post about Wellsboro gas price. Did you see that yesterday in the group chat?
I did.
I don't know if we verified that or not, but gas in the northern tier at one point was up to $5. Do you remember what it was?
At one store, they said it jumped up $1. Whether it's true or not, I mean, they had a picture of it. I don't know why anyone would doctor that. It seemed true. I don't know if it was widespread, if it was one place, or I don't know what the deal was.
Okay, we'll try to verify that when we talk about consumer spending tomorrow. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you to Weiss Markets, and be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
We'll see ya.
I'm Jeff Ever. He's Mark Messina. We will see you tomorrow.